What is Laravel Jetstream? Let's take a look at the documentation. I'm just going to open up Chrome here and we're going to go to jetstream.laravel.com. So right here under Laravel Jetstream. Laravel Jetstream is a beautifully designed application scaffolding for Laravel. Jetstream provides the perfect starting point for your next Laravel application and includes login, registration, email verification, two-factor authentication, session management, API support via Laravel Sanctum, and optional team management. Jetstream is designed using Tailwind CSS and offers your choice of Livewire or Inertia scaffolding. Now you're probably thinking, wow, that sounds great, but what's the difference between Livewire and Inertia? Well, let's take a look. Down here under Available Stacks, Laravel Jetstream offers your choice of two front-end stacks, Livewire and Inertia. Each stack provides a productive, powerful starting point for building your application. However, the stack you choose will depend on your preferred templating language. So first we have Livewire Blade, and then down here we see Inertia with Vue. So let's look at Livewire Blade. Laravel Livewire is a library that makes it simple to build modern, reactive, dynamic interfaces using Laravel Blade as your templating language. This is a great stack to choose if you want to build an application that is dynamic and reactive, but don't feel comfortable jumping into a full JavaScript framework like Vue.js. When using Livewire, you may pick and choose which portions of your application will be a Livewire component, while the remainder of your application can be rendered as the traditional Blade templates you're used to. Alright, so Livewire uses Blade files. Down here under Inertia, it sounds like Inertia is going to use Vue instead of Blade files, but let's take a look. It says, the Inertia.js stack provided by Jetstream uses Vue.js as its templating language. Building an Inertia application is a lot like building a typical Vue application. However, you will use Laravel's router instead of Vue router. Inertia is a small library that allows you to render single file Vue components from your Laravel backend by providing the name of the component and the data that should be hydrated into that component's props. In other words, this stack gives you the full power of Vue.js without the complexity of client-side routing. You get to use the standard Laravel router that you are used to. The Inertia stack is a great choice if you are comfortable with and enjoy using Vue.js as your templating language. So Livewire uses Laravel Blade templates and Inertia uses Vue.js for its templating language. If you're not super comfortable with JavaScript, then Laravel Blade files are probably a better option for you, so you're probably going to want to stick with Jetstream Livewire. If you're more comfortable writing JavaScript or have some experience in Vue.js, you'll probably feel right at home using Jetstream Inertia. So what makes all this possible? If we look over here, we see Laravel Fortify. Under the hood, Jetstream uses Laravel Fortify. Now, if you're not familiar with Laravel Fortify, it's an authentication backend for Laravel. Fortify registers the routes and controllers needed to implement authentication features like login, registration, password reset, and email verification. So Fortify handles all the backend processes for this, and Jetstream provides us with a nice interface to use these backend processes. If we scroll back up to the top right here, we can see Jetstream also uses Laravel Sanctum to integrate API authentication within our application. So both of these will be set up automatically when using Jetstream. It doesn't matter whether you choose Livewire or Inertia to scaffold out your front end, you will be consuming the same Laravel packages behind the scenes. Let's take a look and see how easy it is to get started with Jetstream. I really enjoy using Vue.js to design the front end of my applications, so let me show you how easy Jetstream makes it to get up and going. If we scroll down here to the bottom of the page, we can go over here to the installation. I'm going to open up Terminal so I can run some of these commands. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create a new project. So I'm going to use composer create-project Laravel/Laravel, and then let's give our project a name. I'm just going to call it Jetstream and then press enter. All right, we just created a new Laravel project. We haven't included Jetstream yet. So let's cd into our new Laravel project. So I'm just going to cd into Jetstream. Now you can call this project anything you want. I'm just naming it Jetstream because we're looking at the Laravel Jetstream package. You don't have to call it Jetstream. So now that we have a new Laravel project created, let's just do PHP artisan serve. And now we have a new Laravel development server. So I'm just going to copy this, Command C to copy it. We'll come back over here to our Google Chrome, and let's just open it up here in our browser. So this is what we get by default when we create a new Laravel project. Now that we have our new Laravel project up and going, let's take a look at the Laravel Jetstream installation. So it says we want to run for installing Jetstream. You may use Composer to install Jetstream into your new Laravel project. So let's just go ahead and copy this, and we'll open our terminal. And I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm just using Command T, and that gives me a new tab. Make sure you're in the root of your project folder. So I'm already in Jetstream right here, and I'm just going to paste that in and press enter. All right, so now that we've added Jetstream into our project, let's look at the next step down here in the installation. It says right here, install Jetstream with Livewire. We don't want to use Livewire, at least not for this video. I said I was going to use Jetstream with Inertia. So I'm just going to copy this right here. It's a PHP artisan command, PHP artisan, Jetstream, install, and then Inertia. I'm going to leave the Teams flag off for now. Let's open up our terminal again, and we're just going to paste that right in. All right, so it says right here, please execute the npm install and npm run dev. So I want to copy this, Command C, and then Command V to paste it in there and press enter. All right, so let's take a look at the Jetstream installation page again. And if we scroll down here, we said we weren't going to use Teams. After installing Jetstream, you should install and build your npm dependencies and migrate your database. So we already ran this npm install and npm run dev. The next thing it wants us to do is PHP artisan migrate. Now we haven't connected a database yet, so let's go ahead and do that now. To attach our project to a database, I'm going to use VS Code, and let's open up our project. So File, Open. I'm going to find my project. I called it Jetstream, and click Open. So over here on the left, we have our .env file. This is the only thing we need to change to get Jetstream up and going. Currently, it says my DB database is Laravel. Well, I created a database and I called it Jetstream. I also created a database user. I called it Scriptster, and I created a database password, and I used password. So if you haven't done this already, make sure you go ahead and create a new database, create a user that can access that database, and give that user a password. If you're going to do this in production, make sure to use something a little more secure than password. I'm going to Command S to save that, and let's jump back over into terminal. Now that we've updated our environment file, we should be able to hit that database. So let's run that PHP artisan migrate. All right, now let's jump back over to Chrome, and let's open up our project. We already have a tab open with our project running. So this is the default installation of Laravel that we're looking at right now. I'm going to press the refresh button, and I want you to take note up here in the top right corner, it's empty. So if I press refresh, now we see login and register. So by installing that Jetstream package, it just added these two links right here, one for login and one for register. Currently, we don't have any users set up. So let's go ahead and register a new user. I'm going to call my user Scriptster. For my email, I'm going to use scriptster@scriptster.com. For my password, I'm just going to use password, and then confirm password, I'm just going to use password. Again, if you're doing this in production, pick something a little more secure, and then click register. So at this point in time, we haven't written any code. We've barely touched our new Laravel project. All we did was link our project to a database, and we ran 5 commands, and this is what we got. So this is the landing page for a brand new Jetstream project. Now remember, we use Jetstream Inertia. We could use Jetstream Livewire. It will look exactly the same. They look identical. The only difference is Livewire is using blade files, Inertia is using Vue.js. So let's take a look at some of the scaffolding that Jetstream has already set up for us. If you're not familiar, right here, this blue logo, this is the Jetstream logo. They give us this default page right here. And then up at the top, we see our username. I created, my user was just called Scriptster. If I click that, I get this drop down right here. So I have a logout button, and then I have a profile button. Let's go ahead and click on profile. So again, we haven't written any code at all, and we're on our profile page. So right here, we see profile information. We can update our name. We can update our email. If I scroll down, I can update my password. I have to provide the current password, and then I provide the new password, and I confirm my new password. If I keep scrolling, again, we haven't written any code yet. We get two-factor authentication. Add additional security to your account using two-factor authentication. If I just click this button and enable, I can use Google Authenticator to use two-factor authentication with my application, and I haven't written any code yet. That's pretty awesome. We scroll down even more. We see browser sessions, manage and log out your active user sessions, so we can log out other browser sessions, and then we can delete our account right here. So with absolutely no code, 5 commands, and linking a database, we get all this. That's pretty awesome. Let's jump back over to our dashboard, and I want to open up VS Code again, and let's take a look at the code that's making all this happen. So I'm going to close my env file, and let's click on app and then actions. So we see we have this Fortify folder and we have a Jetstream folder. These weren't there before, so let's open up the Fortify folder. We have a create new user.php, password validation rules.php, reset user password.php, update user password.php, and then update user profile information.php. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this Fortify folder and click on Jetstream, and then Jetstream provides us this delete user.php. So inside of our app, we have this new actions folder, we have a Fortify folder and a Jetstream folder. So I'm going to minimize this, I'm going to minimize the app, and I want to come down here to resources. Now we use Jetstream Inertia. So if I click on JS, we're going to see some new folders in here. So this first folder we see is our Jetstream folder, and by default, when we installed this Jetstream Inertia package, we got all these Vue components in here. This is provided for us by default. This is what's creating that page that we just looked at with our profile information and our dashboard. We can come in here, we can modify any of these. If I wanted to change the way any of this looks, I can modify it right here. It's using Tailwind CSS. So if you're already familiar with Tailwind, you can jump right in and start customizing this dashboard and profile however you want, really. So let's close out of this modal, and I'm going to minimize Jetstream. The next we have layouts, and we have this app layout. Now this is the layout that makes up the look and feel of that page that we were just on, the dashboard. And I believe they're using slots to apply this layout to their pages. So if we come over here and we click on pages, and then we click on dashboard, yeah, right here we see they're applying the app layout, which is this right here, and then they're inserting their template header and then some other information right here, and then they're importing their welcome from the Jetstream welcome. We come right here, Jetstream, they're importing that welcome.vue file. If I come back over here to app layout, we should see some slots right here. Yes, we're inserting, we're saying, go ahead and drop whatever information we want right inside here, and then use the rest of this app layout for the default look and feel for the rest of our pages. Again, we haven't written any code yet. So let's go, and I want to minimize Jetstream. I'll minimize our layouts, and I already clicked on the dashboard.view, but this is our dashboard. If we get all of our profile view components right here. So if for any reason we want to customize these, the way they look, the way they work, the way the user interacts with them, we can do all that right here. It gives us all the code. Now, anybody that's familiar with Laravel Fortify or Laravel Breeze, when you install Laravel Breeze, it kind of does a similar thing for you where it creates all the back-end scaffolding for you using Fortify, and then it provides you all of the front-end code. I believe they use PHP blade files, but it kind of does the same thing, similar to what Jetstream Livewire would do for you. But if you just install Fortify on its own, it doesn't provide you any of the views. It just provides you the back-end functionality, and then you have to build all the views. So right now we installed Fortify, or I should say Laravel Jetstream installed Fortify for us, and then they provided us all of this front-end view code. So all of the look and feel of our application is interacting with Laravel Fortify, which we saw at the top of our project up here in our app, actions, and then Fortify. So I'm not going to go over every single Vue component in here. If you're familiar with Vue.js, this is a great starting point to get up and going with a brand new project. It really takes all of the headache out of creating a user authentication and login system and just really focus on building your project. So I'm going to close my dashboard.view. Let's minimize this. We'll minimize pages. We'll minimize JS. We'll minimize resources, and let's take a look at routes. Let's take a look at the web.php. So we see this new route right here. We're saying route middleware. It's using our auth sanctum. It's also using verified, and it's saying get this / dashboard route. Now, if we look right here, our function, we're return inertia / inertia render and then dashboard. You're probably asking yourself, what is that? That is not familiar. They're also saying provide the name of dashboard. This is familiar syntax because we use this to name our routes regularly in Laravel. So really the only new piece right here is this function return inertia render dashboard. So what is that doing? That is telling our application to come up here inside our resources, inside of JS, and then right here in pages, it's saying to render this pages dashboard view. If we wanted to create a new view in here, we could call it whatever we want, and then we could say render that. We could just copy this down and say render a new view. We'll call it portal, and we'll name it portal and Command S to save. And then just to be real quick, just to give you a quick demo, we're going to copy this dashboard page. We're going to paste it back in there. Let's rename it, and we'll just call it portal. We'll rename this to portal, and let's just get rid of this welcome, and we'll say portal, just to show you how this route works. So Command S to save that. So we just created this new portal.view component, and then inside of our web.php, we're pointing this route. Actually, I didn't change that yet, so let's call this portal. So we're calling this get / portal route, and we're saying render the portal component, and that's going to look inside of our pages and then portal.view. So let's Command S to save that. Now, we didn't create a link for it, so I'm just going to manually navigate to that route just to show you that it works. The only other thing we need to do is let's open up our terminal. I didn't run npm run watch, but let's just rebuild so that portal page is in our compiled app.js. So we'll do npm run dev. All right, that's recompiled. Let's go back over into Chrome. I'm going to refresh this page, and we just created the route. We called it portal. So let's go portal, and there we go. We're pointing, we just created that route, and we pointed it at that new portal.view page. So I just wanted to give you a real quick demo of how routing works with Jetstream Inertia and how you can point it at your front end view files. Let's go back to our dashboard, and something else I wanted to point out. Let's open up the console. We'll close out of this, and let's click on network. If you're used to Vue, you're probably used to building single page applications. So every time you click a link on the page, you don't want to refresh or lose any of the state that you're currently storing in the page. And that might feel like that when you're navigating to different routes. Now that you're using the Laravel router and not Vue router, are we losing state? That's the question. So let's come up right here, and I'm on my network tab, and I just want to click profile. Now, it loaded a new page, but what did it actually send us? If we look right here at preview, it didn't send us a new HTML page or a JavaScript page. So it didn't re-render our page. It sent us an object, a JSON object, and told our page right here, if we look at component profile show, it said grab the profile show component, any props that you're passing in, the URL route, so user/profile, which is the same as up here. And then if we click on our props, it's sending all this information. So it's not actually re-rendering the whole page. It's literally just sending a JSON object back to us. So we can use Laravel Jetstream with Inertia to continue building single page applications. We're not actually re-rendering the page every time we visit a route, which is what we're used to when using the Laravel router. It typically renders a whole new blade file, and if we have JavaScript storing state on our front end, we end up wiping that all out. Well, that's not the case with Jetstream Inertia. So that's just something I wanted to point out in here. I think it's important to know that you're still getting that single page application feel. So let me go ahead and close this out and navigate back over to our dashboard. So let's look at what our question was when we first started. What is Laravel Jetstream? They kind of answer that question for us right here. What is Laravel Jetstream? Laravel Jetstream provides a beautiful, robust starting point for your next Laravel application. Laravel is designed to help you build your application using a development environment that is simple, powerful, and enjoyable. We believe you should love expressing your creativity through programming, so we have spent some time carefully crafting the Laravel ecosystem to be a breath of fresh air. We hope you love it. And I do. I think this is awesome. 10 out of 10 times I want to create a new Laravel project. It's because I need user authentication. I want to have user profiles. People need to log in. They need to reset their password. Sometimes I want to use email verification. So the fact that they're giving this all to us right out of the box without having to write any code, I can start running when I'm creating a new application. Literally 5 commands and I'm up and going, and I can just work on the core product that I need to create. One last thing I wanted to do in this video is to show you guys the API support that Laravel Jetstream gives us by default. Let's open up VS Code again. I can close out of this web.php. Let's close out a portal. We're going to minimize JS. We'll minimize resources, and we'll come up here to our config, and then let's find Jetstream right here, jetstream.php. So it's saying right now it's using the stack inertia, and then right here we have these features. Now, by default, these features are all commented out. Now, I'm really just scraping the surface of what Jetstream does, so by no means is this a full-fledged deep dive into Laravel Jetstream. I'm just trying to hit on some key topics that really stood out to me that made my life easier to get up and going. If you want to see all the features that Jetstream has to offer, check out jetstream.laravel.com. And it's got very, very good documentation to get up and going and really dive in deep for customizations using this package. But one of the things I wanted to point out right here is we have inside of our config jetstream.php file, we have these features. By default, Jetstream's going to give us a feature called profile photos. So if you're using photos for user profiles, you don't have to write the code. At least you don't have to write the initial code to get up and going. They're going to provide it to you, and then you can jump in there and customize it for how you need it. One of the really cool things that I liked is this features API. I'm going to uncomment that, and I want to save this. And let's jump back over into our Chrome browser, and right now you'll notice when I click this Scriptster dropdown, I see Manage Account and Profile. Now I just changed config/jetstream.php. I'm going to refresh this page, and I want you guys to see something. Now, if I click Scriptster, I get this additional item called API tokens. Right here, I haven't written any code for API tokens. I can create a new API token. I'm just going to call it something, I don't know, scheduled tasks. So if I wanted to create another app that wanted to access this and run scheduled tasks or something for me within my user account, I'm going to say they can read, they can update, and they can create. I'll leave the delete off for this API token, and let's just hit create. Look at that. I didn't write any code. Please copy your new API token. For your security, it won't be shown again. So I can copy this out and hit close, and now right here, manage API tokens. So I have this third-party client that I just created an API token for that can now interact on my behalf with my new application. This is very, very powerful, and they make it so easy right off the bat. Again, we typed 5 commands and haven't written any code yet. I almost feel like I'm using Ruby on Rails right now. They call it magic over there, the Rails magic, and it really is. You type a couple commands, and before you know it, you have a full-fledged Facebook application. But Laravel is really stepping it up with this and this Jetstream package to really get you up and going quickly. I mean, it's very, very appealing to want to use this in future projects. Let's do one last thing. I don't want to leave all you blade file fans out of this. So you saw how quick and easy it was to get this project up and going. Well, let's just create a new project using blade files and see how quick we can do it, just for fun. Let me terminate this project. I'm going to jump back over to terminal. We can close out of this tab, and I'm going to stop my web server from running. I'm going to cd out of this directory, and let's run that same command we did earlier, but we're just going to call it something different. So we'll do composer create project Laravel, and we'll just call it Livewire. So we're creating a new project, and it's called Livewire. We'll cd into that directory, and PHP artisan serve. It's already running, so let's come back over here. I'm just going to refresh this It's not going to work because we don't have that route yet. And here we go. We have a brand new Laravel project and we called it Livewire. So let's jump back over to Jetstream. In our installation, we're going to copy that composer create. We'll jump back over to terminal, new terminal window, and let's just run that composer require Laravel Jetstream. All right, we required the Jetstream package. And next we're going to do this PHP artisan Jetstream install Livewire. We'll paste it right there. All right, and let's copy our npm install and npm run dev. All right, and the last thing we need to do is connect our database. So let's jump over into VS Code. I'm going to close out of this project and open up our new Livewire project. Open. All right, and just to show you, if we go into our app actions, we have our Fortify folder, we have our Jetstream folder. We'll minimize that. We'll minimize our app just so it looks the same as before. We'll do Jetstream and we'll come down here. Let's uncomment our API. We'll save that. We'll close that out. We can minimize this, and then under .env, we're going to change it to Livewire. I already have a user called Scriptster, and the password is password again. I've already created this database and I've already created this user and password. This is just a demo. If you're doing this in production, please pick something more secure. Command S to save that, and we should be good to run our migrations. All right, so let's jump back over into the terminal and we can run PHP artisan migrate. We ran our migrations. Let's jump back over into Chrome, and here's our project. We don't have our links yet. I'm going to refresh. I have my login. I have my register. I'm going to click register. My name, I'll use Scriptster again. For email, I'll use Scriptster@Scriptster. Password will be password. And let's register. And here we are. This time around, it looks exactly the same, except we're using blade files. If I click my drop down, I have my API tokens. I have my profile. Let's jump back over into VS Code and take a quick look. We can close out our .env file. And if we go to resources, click on views, we have API, we have auth, we have our layouts, and then we have our profile. So as you can see, it's very similar to the way that they laid out the Vue front end, but this time they're using all Laravel blade file template syntax. Let's jump back over to the browser, and if you haven't used Laravel Jetstream yet, hopefully this video inspired you to check it out. I think there's a lot of great features. This was by no means a full-fledged tutorial on every single feature Laravel Jetstream has to offer. It would be hours long, maybe days long, because there's just so much cool stuff in there. With very little effort, you could go in and change things like password requirements for user account creation. So you could say, make every password have to be 10 characters long with a special character, including uppercase and lowercase, and it's kind of all built into the package for you. I also wanted to show you real quick that Jetstream Livewire and Jetstream Inertia both have their own documentation pages. So if we open up a new tab and we go to -livewire.com, you can see that there's documentation here specifically for Livewire. So if you plan on using the Jetstream Livewire package and you want more information than what the Jetstream page has to offer, you can come right here. It has tons of information on how to leverage this package and get the most out of it. There's also an Inertia.js page. If we go to Inertia.js.com, and I'll zoom in. So Inertia.js isn't specific to Laravel. If we come down here and we click on who is it for, who is Inertia.js for? And it says Inertia was designed for development teams who typically build server-side rendered applications using frameworks like Laravel, Ruby on Rails, or Django. So Inertia is used by multiple different backend frameworks. It's not specific to Laravel. It's just something I wanted to point out. And if you come over here and you want to see more about Inertia and how it works, there's tons of information on how to get set up, how to use Inertia in your application, and there's a lot more documentation here than you'll find on the Laravel Jetstream page. Now that you know where the documentation for both of these are, I want to close this out. And I spent the last 30 minutes or so praising Laravel Jetstream. I do think it's an amazing package, and I'll most likely be using this in projects moving forward. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There is drawbacks to using Laravel Jetstream. When I'm building an application, I typically build an API forward application. And what I mean by that is I leverage the Laravel API routes heavily because I anticipate my application blowing up and having hundreds or thousands or millions of users. Almost every successful web application turns into a mobile app. And then once it's a mobile app, you typically only use it on your phone or an iPad or a tablet of some sort. So when I build my applications, I want to build an API that can be consumed by mobile devices. So I really like separating out my back end, my front end, and then an API that my front end or mobile application can use. When you're using Jetstream Inertia, you're kind of ignoring the whole API aspect of things. Believe it or not, Inertia actually praises the monolith architecture, which I feel like I spend so much time in development trying to avoid. You get these huge packages, and then when your product takes off, hopefully down the road, you're trying to break this monolith up into smaller pieces. If I go back over to the Inertia.js website, they literally say Inertia, the modern monolith. That's how they're advertising themselves. So when you're using Inertia, you're building a monolith. You're subscribing to that idea or that architecture. Let me dive in and show you a little bit more about what that is and why that might not be great for every type of application. So I want to close out of this Inertia.js, and right now we're running the Jetstream Livewire. So let me close that. We'll come back over into terminal. I'm going to end that, and let's cd out of that, and let's cd back into our Inertia project that we originally started with. So we want to use Jetstream with Inertia, which was that original folder we started with about 30 minutes ago. So now that we're back in there, let's serve that back up, and PHP artisan serve. Now that we have our web server running, let's go back and look at how Inertia is actually working. So I'm going to refresh this. Right now we're viewing the Jetstream Livewire. When I refresh it, this 127.0.0.1, it's going to log me out because now we're going to be looking at the Laravel Jetstream Inertia installation. So now that I'm logged out, let's log back in. All right, so now that we have our Laravel Jetstream Inertia project back up and going, I want to take a minute and talk about why this might not be the best option. So a lot of times when I'm working on a new application, that application is eventually going to have an API that a mobile app needs to talk to. When you're using Jetstream Inertia, you're not really setting yourself up for down the road for mobile integration. The reason for that is Jetstream Inertia tightly couples your front end and your back end together. So in a month from now or 6 months from now, when you're ready to build that mobile app, you kind of have to do all the work over again versus just building your application to serve an API and then consuming that API by your front end website or by your mobile application or an iPad app. If you build your project API forward to then be consumed by multiple different resources, you only have to do the work once. When you use Jetstream Inertia, you're saying my Laravel controllers are going to return Jetstream Inertia syntax. And what do I mean by that? Let's open up our developer tools, and I'm just going to click on Scriptster and then Profile. Now remember earlier when we did this, we talked about how it just returns this object, this JSON object. This is awesome. This is how Inertia is the glue between your backend Laravel application and your front-end Vue.js application. This removes a lot of the legwork of building out a Vue router. Maybe you don't have to use Vuex anymore to store state. But what is the drawback of doing it this way? Well, if down the road I decide, you know what, my application's really taken off, I want to build a mobile app, or I want to build an app that can be used on a tablet, all that work that I put in to return this JSON object, well, this doesn't really do me any good on a tablet or a mobile application. I don't want all this component information. I want a typical API response. I want just the user. So if we go back over to inertia.js.com and we look right here, this example right here at the top of their page. It's a user's controller, and it's saying public function index, users, get all the active users, order them by name, and only return the ID, name, and the email. Perfect. I mean, it's very straightforward. This is exactly what we would expect. But then we see right here, return Inertia render users, and then pass it this users array with the user's information up here. Well, how in the world is my Laravel routes/API going to return this function right here? it's going to return inertia information, but it's an API. My third-party vendors or third-party applications, they're not going to be using inertia. They're going to just want the user's information. They don't want it rendered with all this inertia stuff. So it makes sense to use inertia to get up and going quickly. I always hope that my applications take off. And what happens when an application takes off? The first thing people want to know is, can I download it in the App Store or the marketplace? Do you have a mobile app? Well, I could get up and going quickly if I built this project API forward, not inertia forward. So now my application's doing great. I got it up online. Users are flocking to it, and they all want a mobile app. But every single controller is returning this inertia. If I had built it API forward, I would really only be returning the user information, not all this inertia data. So now I either need to build an entirely new user's controller to be consumed by my routes/API, or I need to not use this inertia data that gets sent back. This is something you really need to consider when you're building out these applications. How big do I expect this application to go? Am I going to be building out any type of API or a mobile app down the road? This might not be the best option for me. If I was doing a smaller application, maybe it only had one function or it just needed to do something very specific, a couple users needed to log in, it's on a local intranet, I would probably use this inertia package. I probably wouldn't want to go through the hassle of view router. I could probably avoid using Vuex to manage state, and I could get up and going and I could throw something together very quickly. But any application that I anticipate eventually having a mobile app or needing a mobile app to consume that information, I don't know that I would use Jetstream Inertia. This is really just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think Jetstream Inertia is going to make things more complicated down the road to eventually expand out and have a mobile application? Or do you think it doesn't really get in the way? Is there something that I'm missing here? I know in my professional development experience, most companies, once they start to take off, the first thing they want to do is break out of the monolith architecture. They want to start pulling these pieces apart to be more agile. Maybe there's a specific team that only does the back-end development, and then there's an entirely different team that does the front-end development. So let me close out of this, and we're going to go back to our Laravel application. I'm going to close out of this, and let's go back to our dashboard. Hopefully you learned something in this video. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you get notifications. I'm going to be posting more about Laravel and Vue.js, along with other programming languages too. So if you're interested in learning more about programming and just tech in general, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.